putting eggs under your tomatoes is not something that you need to do.
Hi, welcome to Lilies and Tomatoes, your go-to place for simple and practical tips and tricks on how to start a garden all the way through how to use what you grow. This is from my live class that I teach on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays on Facebook. If you'd like to attend a live class or ask me a question, check out the link in the description.
We're going to be talking about compost. So we're just going to be making a simple, small, apartment-friendly sized cold compost pile. And I will tell you what is okay to put in your compost pile, what is not okay to put in your compost pile, and give you some tips for compost pile maintenance. Hi, if we have not met yet, my name is Quincy Adams, and I want to help you grow some of your own food in a small space on a budget. Let's get started. Okay, so compost, if you're talking about composting in a small area, you're going to be forming a small compost pile. A hot compost pile has to get up to at least 130 degrees Fahrenheit and maintain that temperature for several days in a row. So you're not going to get it that hot. It's going to get hot. It's probably going to get around 100 degrees when you first turn it, and then it'll cool down, and then you'll turn it more, and then it'll warm up again. You want it to get hot. That means that all the little bacteria inside are doing their thing and breaking down all the stuff that you put in your compost. So that's a good sign, but it's not going to get super hot because you need to have a compost pile that is at least 3 feet high and 3 feet wide in order to maintain that 130 degree temperature with a hot compost pile. So with this cold compost pile, we're going to be making this in this cat litter bin. This was a 35-pound container of cat litter. I did drill some holes in it. Let's see. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see any of these holes. See the hole right there? I've got holes on all sides. Not on the top though. I used a 3/16. So the missing one. I used a 3/16 drill bit. With my handy dandy drill. You see there's still yellow plastic on it to drill the holes. So there's just 5 holes on the wider side, 3 down the side, 3 down the narrow side. Try to say that 3 times fast. And then 4 on the bottom. And we will be filling this when you're making a compost pile. What you want to do is alternate your browns and your greens. So brown materials are going to be things like cardboard and paper, and you're looking for a good carbon to nitrogen ratio. So cardboard is carbon is brown. Sometimes it's just easy to think of it that way: carbon, cardboard, brown. I wish there was another color, cafe, or no, that's bad. Ignore that. Okay, so browns you want to go in, and you want to layer that with greens. And what I have here is I save all my coffee grounds, my coffee filters, and vegetable scraps. And I usually just keep them in 1 gallon Ziploc bags in the refrigerator or the freezer over winter. And then when it's spring and it's time to get the compost going, then I pull them out and I start adding them to the compost. Another thing that I save, show you just real quick at the bottom of this pile, as I save my egg cartons and my egg shells if I cooked with the eggs. These shells have been sitting for several months, so I'm not going to bother cleaning them. I'm just going to throw them right in. Because there should be no living salmonella on these eggshells. If the eggshells were fresher, then I would wash them. I would just boil some water in my electric kettle and run it over the eggshells and then crush them up before putting them in the compost. But these have been aged for a good 6 months, so these are just going to go in there. So you want to make sure you're making your layers thin. And then we're just going to make a small one in here. And then for a small compost pile, in order to make it to continuously heat up and to make it process faster, what you want to do is turn it. So if you had a bigger pile, then you would get out like a big pitchfork and you would be like turning it the top to the bottom over and over and over again. But in this small system, what I'm going to do is fill up this container, and then every day I'm going to transfer the contents to another empty cat bin or cat litter container. So that will serve as my turn. And I'm hoping that I will get something useful in closer to 30 days. But cold compost can take a while. If you need compost in a hurry, you should try to make a hot compost pile, but that's not really doable in a small yard or in an apartment. I live in a townhouse. My backyard is only 15 feet by 22 feet, so there will be no large compost piles for me. Also, I have already got a problem with rodents coming into the yard, and then the cat catches them. So I don't want to put out anything that's going to also attract more vermin. Things that you do not want to put in your compost pile. You don't want to put any meat. You don't want to put any raw eggs in there, just the shells. You don't want to put any oils in there, not because they won't eventually break down, but because those things attract rodents. So if you want to keep, like if you want your compost pile to turn into a rat buffet, then put meat and oil and raw eggs in there. If you don't want any rodents attracted to your pile in particular, don't put those kinds of things in there, particularly if you've got it close to your house. That's a terrible idea. If you've got a bigger pile and you've got land and you've got the pile like far away, then go ahead and put all the stuff in there. It will decompose eventually, but it will probably also attract rats, which will bring in snakes. So just for a small compost pile, stay away from those things. Stick to vegetable peels, coffee grounds, and the ends, anything that you're not like regrowing from for vegetables, you can put in there. Also, another thing that you can do to make this go faster, you can blend these items up or chop them up small. The more surface area you have with your components, the faster it'll break down and the more the bacteria can get into everything. But I personally like to have be somewhere between completely lazy and I put tons and tons of effort of this. So I did shred up some cardboard. This is a cardboard box that I ran through my shredder. We'll show you these shreddings up close. So I have a Staples Professional Series shredder. It will shred, I think it says 24 pages at a time on the front. I don't normally put 24 pages in there, but according to the YouTubes, if your shredder has a capacity of at least 10 pieces of paper at the same time, you can put cardboard in there. So I just broke down the cardboard box panel by panel and fed it in. I did not take off the tape. I was going to, but then I didn't have time. So I left the labels and the tape on. They weren't super plasticky, so I don't think it's gonna hurt the compost. And if they do end up, and if I see plastic in there later, then I'll just pick it out. But small surface area is best. You can put a cardboard box into your shredder, just be careful. And definitely make sure that you're oiling the gears of the blades of your compost pile frequently if you're putting cardboard through it. Do I see a question? Let's check the questions. Do I need to add dirt to my compost, or can I do browns and greens and leave it? You do not have to add dirt, but if you've got some dirt that's bad, that is a good way to refresh it. So normally for potting soil, if I grew something in there, as long as I don't think that there is some kind of soil-borne pathogen that killed the plant, then I will refresh the soil with new soil and new additives and always reuse the soil. I never get rid of the soil. That's probably the most expensive thing you get in your garden. But if you've got soil that, say, you had a container of soil and it filled up with rainwater and it's been flooded for months and months and months, now that soil is anaerobic and it's not good for your plants. So that soil I will definitely be running through my bigger compost pile, but for a small pile, you can just do browns and greens and leave it. You want to do like a little bit more browns than greens and just watch it. If you have the ratio is like 3 to 1 that you want browns to greens, if your ratio is off, or if you've got to, if it's not getting any air, it could smell. But if you keep the ratio right, I'll just give you this little hint. It's not going to smell to you, but it will attract flies. So you definitely want to do like an extra thick layer of browns across the top. If you just have extra cardboard, just like lay the flat cardboard across the top. Or if you've got cocoa coir or peat, that also works. So that's something I learned the hard way last year. Just because it doesn't smell to you does not mean that it's not going to attract flies. So you want to make sure you have an extra thick layer of browns on top. All right. Any other questions before I start building? Okay. So I'm going to do some of this cardboard. And I'm just going to lightly cover the bottom of the inside of this container. Cardboard. And I'm going to put a little bit of this paper in here that I pre-ripped but did not shred because that would have taken forever. And this is just paper that I saved from Amazon boxes. So not only do I shop on Amazon a lot, but I'm also an Amazon seller. So I end up with a lot of boxes coming through my house. So guess where they're all going? The compost pile. This also works if you want to build a compost pile on the ground. You use the same tactics. You want to just layer the browns and greens and cover it with a tarp. If you want to like not make it as attractive to insects and rodents, and also that will trap more heat in it and make it cook down a little bit faster. And that will kind of like bridge the gap between a hot and a cold pile. This smells. All right. So this is coffee with a coffee filter, some kale stems, and some cabbage leaves. So I'm putting that in here. I've also got some other, I think these are turnip peels and a couple bananas in here. Ooh, and I've got coffee on the washing machine. Awesome. Clean up on aisle 5. All right, so layer of greens in there. Now I'm gonna do more paper. I'm gonna do these eggshells. I'm gonna break them as I put them in because more surface area. Eggshells are really good for your compost because it provides calcium. You may have seen people put eggs under their tomatoes when they plant them. The calcium in the egg is not going to be bioavailable for a tomato, so a tomato is not going to be able to eat the eggshell. If you do it in the same place over time, then like the next year the tomatoes will benefit. But putting eggs under your tomatoes is not something that you need to do. And with an egg shortage, unless you have your own chickens, it's not something that I would recommend that anybody do. So, and then with the egg cartons, I'm just going to break this up into little pieces. Put that in there. Another way you can compost in a small area, if you don't want to do a compost bin, is with vermicompost. You can get worms online, or you can catch them, and you can do them in a bucket or in a worm tower. They have all kinds of pre-made ways to do that. I have unsuccessfully kept worms for short periods twice. I'm going to try it again because I have a worm tower now. But and the worm tower I actually got for free on Marketplace, so that was awesome. So another budget-friendly tip: if you're looking for free stuff to use for your garden, you might be able to find stuff on Facebook Marketplace. People are just giving stuff away. You never know. You just have to be patient and keep looking. Ooh, this is gross. There's liquid in here. I will spare you guys. And I'm gonna seal this up and put this in the garbage. Now we're gonna do some more paper. And the rest of the cardboard. And if I were doing this outside, I would have added water in between layers. But because I'm doing this inside, I'm not adding water because I do not want to make compost tea in my house. But I will water this when I put this outside. I'm gonna make sure that I'm not setting this next to anything that's flammable, because it shouldn't get too hot, but it will probably get up close to 100 degrees. And there's the top layer. I smell a little bit, but I also still have that bag in the sink room. This only weighs a couple pounds. So this is, this would probably, if I had added some soil in it, it would have made it heavier because a gallon of soil is pretty heavy. But this is manageable.
This is me dumping my compost from one bin to the other. Reason. That's gardening with pets. And it's stuck. Awesome. There we go. This is slam packed. This tool is for, it's a dandelion weeder, and I use it to poke the compost back down. And aerate it a little bit. This is a little bit dry, so I'm going to add some water. And hopefully, the cat won't tip over my tripod when I get out the hose. These planters that you can see off to the side, these are all of the planters with my comfrey. Instead of just 4, I ended up with 7 because I had so much root material. Okay. There's not a whole lot to it. I'm just gonna put the lid on. This one's got a little bit of dirt in it. This lid goes on the top.
I made a label for the compost so I can keep track of how long I've been doing this, because sometimes you think you're going to remember stuff and then you don't, and then you're like, I feel like it's been at least 3 months since I made that compost. And if I have actually written it down somewhere besides on the compost, it'd be like, oh, actually it's only been 3 weeks. Just kidding. So with that, I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys have a great night. Hope you guys stay safe, stay home, wash your hands. Bye.